Hello, all you kings, queens, and those in between, and welcome to episode 22 of the Busted Limes podcast. I'm your host, Paresh Maharaj, and Black Belt will not be joining us this time because, like I keep saying, he is working on some great stuff. Trust me on this, you're all gonna love it. But for now, we'll have to make do with a
That's
good man,
right, folks.
good friend of ours, who we have not heard since episode 3 of this podcast. Welcome back to the show, UnknownRivers.
That's right, folks. It's time for America's sweetheart. UnknownRivers here, back again, the long-awaited return. You demanded it. You were in the comments. You were sliding into Paresh's DMs. You were sliding into Black Belt's DMs. You don't have my DMs, but you somehow slid in there. You were sliding into other unrelated guests saying, "Who the hell are you? Why aren't you Rivers?" Well, guess what, baby? You're swimming upstream again. You got Rivers here with you. Let's talk about a movie today, Paresh. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm excited to have you back, honestly, just for that exact type of flavor that you bring here. But yeah, we're here to discuss a movie, specifically a movie that is doomed to join the ranks of Wolf of Wall Street, Scarface, and Fight Club in the pantheon of cautionary tales that will be misinterpreted as instruction manuals, The Northman.
Right, along with the Lorax, the B movie, King of Queens, other such misinterpreted classics. So yeah, the Northman. This was a special movie for the two of us because it was, I don't know about you, but it was one of the first movies we actually saw in person. You know, we didn't see it over streaming. We didn't acquire it, off the Pirate Bay. You know, we did mm-hmm. our duty and actually went and saw it in person. Mm-hmm. And so, that was a good feel. There was only one other movie in recent memory that I actually went and saw in the theaters, and that was the last Spider-Man movie. So
same here.
Yes. So yeah, it felt good because I'm really somebody who enjoys the movie, the movie going experience, and it was I think this was a really good one to kind of get back in the swing of things. So I'm eager. We can obviously we can talk about the unfortunate implications that certain people may have with this movie, but I think it'll be good to talk about the movie on its own merits as well.
Because absolutely, because here's the thing, it's not this movie's fault or any of the other movies' faults that I just named, that media literacy is dead.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I've always: you should never let bad interpretations or in certain cases bad fandoms, they can certainly color your perception of things to a certain degree, but I don't think that should ever let you stop you from enjoying something that's good. If that were the case, right, no one would be able to watch Star Wars because the absolute shitstorm that it is. I think if they have a movie about a toy and the toy's friend has a girlfriend and they kiss or something
for like
that.
half a second.
Yeah. I haven't seen. If anybody is not sure what we're referring to, we're referring to
Lightyear.
Lightyear. Thank you. Why I couldn't think of that. I was about to say Woody, but I don't think he's got his own movie yet. Well, give it some time. I would love a serious spaghetti western type movie, but I guess Woody already has a in canon background that he was on some sort of like kind of 50s
Woody's Roundup.
Yeah, exactly, that howdy do shit. Anyway, I'm getting us off track, but yeah, let's
let's talk about the. So, just as a bit of background here, this is directed by Robert Eggers. Honestly, not a name that I'm intimately familiar with, but this is a pretty straightforward, well, plot-wise anyway, movie about a Northman, a Viking, who just goes on a good old-fashioned revenge rampage to avenge his father's murder. But there's more to it than that. Because
it has a very, very nice twist at the end. Are we delving into spoiler territory immediately, or are we
not
giving our
yet?
Audience? Okay.
But yeah, it does have its own unique way of presenting that story, and we could get into more detail with that. But I want to start out with just giving off our just what we thought about the movie just right off the bat. So honestly, I'll go first, and yeah, I fucking love this movie. It is great. It is trippy. It is weirdly horny, and honestly, which is exactly what the same vibes that I got from another favorite of mine from last year, The Green Knight. Which actually I don't know. Is this also an A24 picture or no?
I don't have the answer to that. Let me.
Honestly, well, we'll look it up later. But
that's less important.
Yeah, if it's not, then that's the vibes that I got, because this would make I was saying this coming out of the theaters, like this would make an excellent double feature with The Green Knight. But yeah, the cinematography, the acting, the pacing, and some of the content, some of the just content on a surface level are just so satisfying and so wonderfully portrayed. Rivers, what did you think about it coming out of it?
So yeah, kind of. I think I agree with you on a lot of points on what I really liked about the movie. So one of the complaints I have about, I guess, you take the good with the bad, but if there was something that I feel like a lot of modern cinema does that I kind of miss that older cinema does, I enjoyed, the first thing I enjoyed how just gritty and ugly this movie was.
Yeah.
So many movies today, they're just so sterile and so clean, and
right,
and that's I mean that's been the trend for the past 15 or so years. And I should preface this by saying, don't come at me, you don't know my Twitter handle anyway, but don't come at me anyway, audience. But the Marvel movies are kind of like that, and I get that because they have to be family friendly to an certain degree. But I mean, so many people are trying to ape that style where everything's clean, everything's polished. And this is the absolute opposite of that. This movie dunks itself in a river of shit at the very beginning and just swims deeper and deeper. And honestly, I'm here for it.
Same here. Yeah.
So it's very it really, and that's the other thing too is you mentioned how it's weirdly horny. Well, that's another thing, I miss about, and not obviously, I'm not demanding every movie has this, but a lot of movies, I feel they're very sexless, and they don't really explore that, that side of, that side of
the
living.
human experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see, and it's not always positively represented too. I mean, there's a lot of sexual themes in there that made me really uncomfortable in the theater. But it was really glad to see something that felt gritty without being too in your face and try hard
indulgent.
About it. Exactly. It didn't feel like it didn't feel like some 16-year-old and just be like and then he like. He took her tits out, and he was just the best at banging, and nobody was better than him at that. I'm sure there's some guys on some message boards right now that are interpreting in this way, but it really just, it felt, like, and as, in the 9th century, how things were, it really was just like, it was a gross, harsh, rough time to live in, and I felt like that was the thing I think I liked the most about that movie, is just how well it portrayed that. Everything is extremely violent. There's not really any glory in the violence. I mean, if you look, we'll talk about it in more detail when we go through the plot. But the opening scene, there's a raid where the main character, our point of view characters, is going through with a bunch of other berserkers and slaughtering a village that did nothing to them. They're just they're raping and pillaging, and it really depicts, it comes across as harsh and chaotic and disgusting, and it doesn't feel heroic, and it doesn't feel triumphant. And this is the guy we're following. This is the person and you just really don't see that a whole lot anymore. And just to see that perspective in a movie, and to see it done that well. I think that was the thing that really impressed me the most about it, and that, I think when I left the theater, that early scene in the movie is, I think, what really stuck with me, because, in most other movies, I think there'd be some kind of effort to make him be like, oh, I don't really want to do this. I'm different from all these other, just absolute monsters and beasts.
Savages,
yeah, killing and take. But no, he's just, like, he's entirely motivated, to build his own strength on a quest for revenge, and he really doesn't have thoughts or feelings one way for the other for most of these. And obviously I'm not saying that's aspirational. He's not someone you're supposed to look up to.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to see that kind of story being told, where it's not so much that we're supposed to relate to the antagonist. It's just, this is a picture of what life was like by then. And to me, it's like, oh well, like the message I came away taking from it, this may be part in the movie's intent, is like, thank God things aren't like that anymore, or at least for the most part, they aren't.
Yeah, because it's like you said, the first thing you notice is how gritty and dirty the movie is, which you think would be the first sign that whatever the movie is depicting is not going to be an endorsement. But like we said, you can't judge you absolutely cannot judge this movie by its worst fans.
Yeah. Well, and then you have just, you have Alexander Skarsgård, who's just friggin' cut from stone, and like,
yes,
so it's hard, it's hard, oh, that one scene towards the end there, I was finding, I don't know about you, but I was riding up in my shorts a little bit, my goodness. But
I don't know what that means.
Kid, if you don't get it, kids, ask your parents.
Yeah, but the Alexander Skarsgård, who plays our titular Northman Amleth, and also, of course, Anya Taylor Joy just being Anya Taylor Joy.
Absolutely,
because she's been
gorgeous.
Yeah, she's been on a roll lately with the Queen, especially with the Queen's Gambit, and I think she was in Last Night in Soho. I'm not sure. Let me double check. She was in The Witch and Split. Jesus.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't she? She was explicitly chosen for her role, wasn't she? As Olga, I believe the character's name was.
That honestly, I'm not. That's the thing about this movie, is that we're really going to be discussing more not so much the trivia surrounding it, because I did not know anything about this movie other than, oh, thank God it's not a superhero movie.
Yeah, no. Like I said, now again, I'll preface it by saying, I do, I enjoy the Marvel movies. I mean, you rank them, for God's sakes.
Yeah, you don't do a whole retrospective on the first few pages for something you don't like. I mean, come on. Look back through it. Seriously, people, look back through my catalog, and next time you want to come at me for talking shit about the MCU, all right?
Well, if you eat cake every day, you start to get sick of it, no matter how good cake is. Sometimes,
right?
Sometimes you want a sandwich. Sometimes you want some curry. Variety is
sometimes you want some beef.
Oh well, this movie. I will say this for anybody who's on the fence: if you want beef, this movie is a slaughterhouse in more than one sense of the word. It is a side of beef that's been run over by a combine. So.
For sure. And with that, I think we're ready to just dive into the plot here. So from here on out, it's free reign on spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, just cut the episode off now. Go watch it. It's great. You will enjoy it.
But still donate to the show. And donate to me too. DM Paresh with the explicit intent purpose to say I want to give Rivers money, and then whatever number you take, he's going to double it when he Venmos you. So let's keep those hearts going in the chat, because I got bills. So yeah, let's talk about this movie.
All right, so it starts out with our good old buddy Amleth, played by not Alexander Skarsgård, but the person who grows up into Alexander Skarsgård, and
Oscar Novak is the young child's name, or the young name.
And he's actually greeting his father as he comes home from a hard-won war, and again, we're kind of introduced to the themes of the movie that will lead to this man's downfall, where he twats his wife.
What a way to start a movie, by the way. You know, if you needed something to perfectly like set up like the themes and like what this movie was going to be about, you know, that first 5 minutes, you know, is exactly, you know, they're just in this shitty Viking log cabin, and then the father to the hero does that, you know, his brother almost kills the court jester, and the closest thing we have to levity and comic relief in this movie. It really is just it perfectly sets the stage. It is just like, look, you know, this is going to be a bumpy ride, folks, so strap in.
And that's no exaggeration. That's not even a tasteless joke either. Like her wife, this guy's wife, played by Nicole Kidman, literally tells him to basically stop trying to act like a man and come to bed with me, and he's like, no.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, you know, and that's, you know, and that's probably one of the reasons why, you know, maybe that's one of the reasons why certain groups on the internet might take to this movie, because, you know, certain groups who might be, let's say, love shy would probably just be like, yeah, you know, bitches be horny, but, you know, I got to go out. I got to hit things with a club. I don't have time for that. I don't have time. I got to go do manly things like fart in a cave.
If only hitting things with a club was the manly thing you do, but no, they actually do just go into a cave with the witch doctor, played by frickin' well, no, not witch doctor isn't correct. A shaman, played by Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. Oh, well, and who is absolutely chewing the scenery in the best kind of ways. I mean, you know, like
which reminds me, I still need to see The Lighthouse. But yeah.
Oh yeah, no, The Lighthouse is amazing. But I mean, yeah, he is licking the drywall off the sets. No one is having more fun in this movie than Willem Dafoe as the he witch, who is just going batshit bonkers. You know, blowing smoke in the face of these guys. You know. Burping and farting, you know, and giving prophecy and just like that, and just, you know, my man's just killing it. He's having a ball, and it's one of the better scenes in the movie because of it.
Oh yeah, for sure, because it's one of those things where in the hands of someone who isn't careful, it would come off as silly, but it's meant to come off as silly because, again, the movie is trying to drive home that these guys are morons. That they are not to be aspired to. Like, they're in here tripping in a cave just to hallucinate their family tree after tripping off whatever hallucinogen that they
whatever the Viking equivalent of peyote is. Yeah,
that's what I was looking for. Yeah, peyote. That's the one I was.
And you know, that's another, I feel like, very consistent theme in the movie is that, you know, like these kind of like there's a mixture of both. You know, breaking down and also kind of at the same time kind of paying homage to these kind of like rituals and traditions and sacred cows, because, you know, at certain points it will give some levity to, you know, prophecy and the will of the gods, which we'll talk about. But in also parts of it, it's also just like, you know, kind of lampshading how ridiculous that is. And you know a lot of that stuff is ridiculous. And, you know, I mean, you see that now even with modern ritual, you know, and I don't know if the movie was trying to make some sort of commentary on that, but at least that was my interpretation.
You know, I believe in death of the author, so if as long as you could find something in the text to support your interpretation, then yeah, go for it.
Yeah. But again, you know, that was just my perception. And again, that scene in particular, I mean, because, you know, like, they're determining, you know, the fate of their life and their tribe, and they're literally just sitting in a cave getting high and farting, you know, so.
But then plot has to happen, so fratricide. Brother kills brother. The father's brother kills him.
You know, that scene. You know, it's going to play out so differently in context by the end of the movie, because it feels so much like, you know, typical is the wrong word, but I mean, you know, you've seen at least a scene like that seems like that before, where there's two characters that we've established they have a friendly relationship, and then seemingly out of nowhere, you know, one betrays the other and kills it, and then the child who was hiding, he bears witness to it. He's got to get out of Dodge, and through wit and a little bit of luck and maybe a little bit of divine intervention, he manages to make his way out there
and biting off a dude's nose. Don't forget that.
Which that ruled, by the way.
That was absolutely gnarly as hell.
and the reason that's great is because, at this point, Almeth is still a child. He's I think he's probably about 11 or 12 at this point, if I'm remembering correctly, somewhere around that line.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's still probably prepubescent. So I mean, the gritty realism of that. How else, if you're a child, do you defend yourself? And just the sheer like desperation kind of will to survive, because he didn't grab his arm and do some kind of like special flip or trick that his dad taught him, or he didn't pull the bad guy's knife out of its sheath at the last second and get like a quick kill. No, he just desperately was defending himself the only way he could. And that, again, that's a small detail overall, but again, I really appreciate that just like rawness and that grittiness compared to I feel like in a movie that might have been rated PG-13, he might have nut shot at him, or like I said, like done some sort of Home Alone Dennis the Menace ass, like hit him with a log or tie him in a snare or something like that. So it was again, going back, that I liked how like gritty and raw, and again, there obviously was CG in this movie, but not over reliance on CG. So that always scores big points for me, because I'm a huge fan of practical effects. So whenever I can see those squibs, baby, I'm just like, all right, you're getting an extra point in the overall review number. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, speaking of that grittiness continues further on, where he realizes that Amleth realizes that his village is being plundered and his mom is being kidnapped? Question mark will be revealed later.
I mean, that's certainly what it looks like. The uncle's got her over her shoulder, that kind of thing. And that's another great thing too, is I'm not harp on this too much, but again, just pointing out how like he's a kid, he can't mount this epic rescue. He does what you would expect a kid to realistically do in that situation. He doesn't go and save his mom. Yeah, he gets the hell out of Dodge. He's just like, I am not fully developed yet, and these are grown ass crazy people with swords. I am lucky to still be alive. I'll be back, Mom. I'll be back when I am as big and as psychopathic as these guys are.
Yes, and he angrily rows away, swearing vengeance, and then we get a brief time skip, and then we're treated to a shot on a boat that is the most difficult game of spot the main character ever.
Yeah, no anime protagonists here, folks.
Yeah, because I swear I guessed wrong like maybe 4 times before the camera finally focused on him, because what better way to show that, hey, maybe this isn't something to aspire to by giving us a shot of everyone looking the same, or put another way, lacking any sort of individuality.
Yeah, well, no, he's at this point. At this point, he's just another killer. I mean, and that's kind of the point, that society has made him this way. Like his, not excuse the, not to overuse the phrase, we live in a society, but I mean, he is a product of the world he was created in, and the world he created in is like is brutal, and it's cruel, and it's unforgiving. It's very much like Berserk. In that, especially early Berserk.
Yeah, you're right. Even with Berserk still has more of a fantasy element to it, but yeah, honestly, we'll discuss this for.
But like, man, also you want to talk about
2 seeds later.
Yeah, you want to talk about people who miss the point. We could do a whole episode on Berserk with that. But yeah, I mean that's the same thing. I'm sure, knowing your audience, most of them are at least passingly familiar with that. But I mean, Berserk is also another place where it's a very ugly, unpleasant world to live in, and again, the whole, I guess with Berserk though, the whole struggle is like is Guts' struggle not to become, not to become the monsters that he slays, and his difficulty doing that. But by this one,
Amleth doesn't give a shit.
No, well, that's the whole thing. He's been completely consumed by revenge. And we'll even get towards the choice or the decision that he makes towards the end of the film, and really, I think what hammers home what the overall point of the message, or at least the message I took from the movie is. But yeah, by the 15-minute mark, our main character is already like he's become a ruthless killer. He's not Captain America. He's not he's not even
Indiana Jones.
No, exactly. He's not. Yeah, he's not. Not even some kind of like, charismatic, warrior leader with a heart of gold or something like that. No, and that's the whole reason I think why you couldn't pinpoint him out. He's just another killer. He's just another killer,
and who just participates in every kind of bullshit that the Vikings put in front of him, and we get to see him actually participate in a raid, which is depicted in a beautiful, well-framed oneer. It's that thing where you just keep the camera on them and don't cut away, because
it was like Birdman with disembowelment. It was great.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then it ends with him tackling a guy off a horse, literally biting his throat out and howling, and then just turning the other way when a child gets thrown into a hut that gets set on fire.
Yeah, exactly. Again, like I said, this is what I was talking about in the beginning. I think this is one of the best scenes in the movie. It is gruesome. It in no way, you don't feel triumphant. You don't think, man, what a badass, this guy is so cool. You're just like I'm watching it and it's well framed, so I'm enjoying it. But you're also just like, man, I want this to be over, because like this is horrifying. This is awful. Right, exactly. Women are screaming and crying. Men are begging for their lives and just being cut through the neck. It's no big deal. It doesn't feel heroic and awesome. Like I said, it doesn't feel. By the time it's over, you're relieved because it's drained you. You're just like, oh my god, thank God it's over.
And then a couple scenes later, where he gets more guidance from another shaman. I don't really remember that scene too clearly, but what I do remember clearly is the scene after that, where we get an idea of just how consumed by revenge he is. Like, he straight up gives up, he straight up leaves his team of Vikings, the people that he kills with, the people that he howls around bonfires with. He just straight up left them when he realized, we're sorry, but you're the subject of your revenge is in another castle.
So he managed to find, like you said, he managed to find some sense of community, and it was a horrifying group of savages, but I mean, it was some sort of like community where he was respected, where he probably had a reliable source of food. He was more or less free to do as he pleases. And he voluntarily gives all that up because he gets a tip that his uncle might be somewhere, and so he immediately, just without a second thought, just completely all abandons that people. And he had become I don't know if he was the leader, but he had certainly become a prominent figure, like a guiding presence to them. So he just completely abandons all those people that have come to rely on him for his own deeds. So again, we see here just like, this guy's, at this point, he's been fully transformed. Almeth is down to nut, but at the end of the day, Almeth is here for Almeth. So,
exactly.
Be careful when you're out there, ladies. He may look appealing with his axe, but the second he hears that his uncle is a village away, he's going to be on that first boat. And then what are you going to do?
Sell yourself into slavery and then hide yourself among the groups of slaves to make sure that you're sent to the group. They're in the same group that's being sold to him.
Yeah, and then all you have left to date is Fulnir the Brotherless, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
Oh God, Oh, not Fiona the Brotherless. Can we?
But
Let's just talk about that guy. Which such a great performance in that he succeeded in getting us to just like, okay, just die already.
oh yeah, no,
Because
just get him out of here.
when one of my favorite parts is when they're surveying the slaves and he goes up to Almith and is just like, oh, a tough guy, huh? And then he punches him, but Almith just literally does not flinch.
Yeah.
Which, talk about a character establishing moment. That right there is just economic storytelling at its finest.
Yeah. But you were right though. Absolutely phenomenal performance.
Yeah. Oh, and also speaking of phenomenal performances, this is on that boat where where Almith is hiding among the slaves. We meet Olga, played by Anya Taylor Joy.
Yeah, who we were just praising a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah, for sure, because yeah, she kills it in this. Because what did you think her character was? Because she seems like just like a straight up quote unquote witch, but feels like there's something more there.
So she did seem like she was an interesting character in her own right, because I think I think the surface level reading of her, you could very much just write her off as like a MacGuffin slash like
The girlfriend,
love interest slash the prize he wins for being such a badass. And I'm sure, like I said, a lot of surface level readings of her and people who only want to be like, I'm the badass who gets the sexy big bootied girl at the end, will look at it this way. But I looked at her more as like, there are several like avatars of fate, kind of divine avatars of fate, in this guy's life. We see it first with the soothsayer Willem Dafoe, which at the beginning, we see it several more times. We see he has visions of the Erd tree. The Erd tree, excuse me.
The Erd tree. Oh my god, you fucking nerd!
Look,
I told you. King squeezes those in between. Elden Ring, Brain Rot is real.
Yeah, look. Okay, excuse me. Well, he should. If he had visions of the Erd tree, maybe he would have realized that no one becomes Elden Lord. But instead, he has visions of Yggdrasil, which shows his family line on there. And he meets several other divinely inspired people who are trying to direct his fate a little bit, and I considered her like the main embodiment of that. I think that was why she took an interest in him, because she has this connection with the gods and with the outer world. So I think I don't think her initial attraction to him was so much that like, oh my god, he's 6'2" and he has a job. He's like, oh, I sense something within this guy. I'm going to keep an eye on him.
Oh yeah, because they build their relationship throughout the entire movie. Because for like the entire second act, this basically becomes a spy movie where Almith is trying to slowly murder his way to the top as stealthily as possible.
And we do see in the movie that there are some scenes where she has her own agency. She takes matters into her own hands. So she's not this she's not this princess trapped in a castle waiting for
damsel.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah. she's proactive, which I appreciated. A lot of the women, there's not a whole lot of women in this movie, but the few that are very proactive. I know we were gushing over Anya Taylor
Nicole
Joy.
Kidman.
Yeah. Oh my God, Nicole Kidman killing it. Just still looks. First off, still looking phenomenal. After all this age, but like, I think, in my opinion, the best performance in this movie.
Really?
Honestly, that.
Honestly, yeah, I see it.
We don't. we don't get much of her until I'd say the latter half of the movie. But when her when she's the subject of any scene later in those, when she gets a speaking role, she absolutely commands every scene that she's in. She is, So she was my favorite character and my favorite performance in the movie.
Oh yeah, I could see that. That's a perfectly valid reading, because honestly, thinking back of it, yeah, I think I might agree with you. Going back to what I was saying about this entire, after that little character study, this entire second half is basically him or Amleth working undercover, just trying to pick his opportunities to find an opening and kill his uncle. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of becomes Metal Gear Asgard for a little while there, because
honestly, it kind of does, because complete with the fox imagery,
Yeah, well, yeah, because so there are several scenes in this movie of him just so he poses as a slave, he meets as they're marching towards this village in Iceland where his uncle and his new family, he's remarried Almeth's mother at this point and had several children with him, one of whom is fully grown. He
that's one thing we forgot to mention, is just another way that this movie fucking pounds its message into your skull in a way that you'd have to be a complete fool to miss it, is the guy, he killed the king, took over the throne, and then got overthrown like a month later.
Yeah, exactly. Like in before you could even knew it. Yeah, this guy has already he murdered his own and his only brother in order to take the throne, and then just immediately some guy just equally as just like psychotic and bloodthirsty was just like, nah, this is mine now. So I mean, again, we also saw this movie with Fredo, and he's unfortunately absent today, but he made a very good point after the movie, talking about, he's like, well, we could just, everyone could just kind of pool their resources and nobody could be in charge and we could have a decent standard of living. or I could just say, screw you, I'm in charge, and then I'll get murdered in my sleep by the next jackass who's just like, it's my turn to play Xbox. It's my turn to be king.
That's exactly it. Oh my god.
I mean, if you want to talk, if you want to talk the story of, any dynasty, any kind of reign, any kind of concept of divine will in most cultures, yeah, it really just comes down to the idea of just like, well, no, screw you, I want that. I mean, look at, if you look around, think about like, the idea of divine will, or divine
right of kings.
Yeah, exactly. So, but look at how easily that can be open to interpretation, or just be like, well, if the gods favored you, I wouldn't have killed you in your sleep. So I guess this is my dynasty now.
Before we move on, because I have no way to really segue into this, I really love the period blood scene.
Now that was actually, if I'm remembering my notes correctly, that was actually Anya Taylor Joy's idea.
Yes, it was. It was her idea, and the director loved it, and it made it into the movie. So, for those of you who haven't seen the movie and just apparently don't care about spoilers, you see why I warned you about... Well, first off, I warned you. But second of all, what I'm talking about is... It's no stretch to say that the uncle is still a piece of shit, to the point where he will force himself onto a woman. Unfortunately, he picks Anya Taylor. He picks Olga for the night, but Olga tries to drive him off by showing him that she's on her period. But of course,
and showing the audience,
yes, and of course that at first that's not enough to faze him. He's just like, "What's a little blood?" And almost as if in response, Olga reaches down to her crotch, gets a handful for period blood, and smacks him in the face with it, and that's enough to get him off. And I'm just like,
cinema. Look, hey, look, I'm not here to kink shame, okay? I'm whatever gets you there as far as I'm concerned. So, I don't have that particular fetish, but I get it. No, I'm just kidding. I had to immediately backpedal on that one. But yeah, so the next big chunk of scenes here, He's kind of luring his uncle into a false sense of security, because his uncle obviously doesn't recognize him because he's a grown man now.
Is it really a false sense of security or a very constant state of paranoia? Because you were mentioning earlier about how they put a lot of stock into the gods and the divine right of kings, so he starts using that to his advantage. Almond starts using that to his advantage. Like,
oh well, absolutely. But the thing is, at first he doesn't suspect Almeth. He thinks he's just let's keep him around because he's a pretty built guy. He'll be good for lifting heavy sacks of wheat or whatever. But yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And then from there he sets off to that. His first order of business is to sneak off and find a sword, and he finds one.
Oh yeah, so that one was interesting. I wasn't sure how to do it because we get this weird, again, talking about Elden Ring, we get this almost like boss fight kind of scene where like
exactly
yeah.
He drops down. He drops down into a pit, and they do the thing where it's a skeleton holding the sword. So of course he grabs the sword, and the skeleton comes to life, and he's got to fight it. But the interesting thing was how that fight ended, and what happened immediately after. Because once he's defeated the beast, he takes its head because it's a skeleton. He can just yank it off, and then he just puts it on its ass.
Yeah, he shoves the skull straight up his ass. Okay, and then that scene, it's revealed, I'm guessing it was revealed that was like just a dream sequence, or it didn't really happen because we cut back to reality and he just takes the sword and that's that. And that to me... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go first.
Well, so that to me perfectly summed up like so many kind of guys who are going to get the wrong movie. Because how many guys do you know who are just like, yeah, dude, if that were me, I'd just totally kick his ass and then just shove his skull under his ass, and I'd be so cool, man. I'd be so, a lot of like, I wish a mother would kind of guys, the hold me back, bro kind of guys, the biggest badass, from your high school. And it turns out it was all in their head. And that perfectly, I think this might have been unintentional by the movie, but to me, it perfectly summed up every single guy who's going to watch this movie and get the wrong impression from it is just, they're just be like, I would perfectly dodge roll the bad guy and then shove the skull up his ass, and then I get the cool sword. And it turns out just like in the movie,
fish he caught was this big. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like I said, it was just it's your Monster Energy drink drinking. I can when the kind of guys who watch MMA and just be like, dude, if they let me get drunk and fight in UFC, I'm not saying I would win every one, but I'd have a pretty good record. Those kind of guys. And like I said, it turns out it was all just in his head. So I mean, that to me,
a childish imagination. That's how it played out in his head. Like that's what he wished happened, what he imagined. And like I said, it's a childish fantasy because the way he ends it is shoving the skull up his opponent's ass. Who does that?
Yeah, exactly. And it shows just like just like and it was a perfect summation. To me, it was almost kind of like again, it was another great example of just like this guy he's not a hero because he goes, he takes a sword, that wasn't his, he could have earned it by divine right, but then he just immediately disrespects it just by, desecrating this corpse. It's again, this is not a good guy. This is not somebody to be worshipped. He's certainly interesting and fascinating to watch, but he's not, not to be emulated. If anything, this is a cautionary tale. Or like a kind of a period piece and a character study. And, again, like my takeaway from it was just like, I'm glad we've built up as a society, we've built up a community and a sense of belonging so that, we don't have to resort to things like this to survive. I don't want to ever be put in a situation, and like we've worked for literally thousands of years to get in a situation where you're not eyeing your neighbor's stuff, your brother's things, and saying like, well, I have to kill him to survive. That humanity has survived. Any growth and anything we've done is because we've formed community and we've formed bonds with one another. And the main character in this movie has severed his bond with community. He's severed his bond with humanity. He's living as a solo object, and that means he's only capable of self-service and destruction. And the thing about destruction is you destroy everything. And eventually, again, sorry, spoiler alerts for who haven't seen this, it destroys everything, including himself. So, and, again, we'll talk about this more towards the end, but I think that was the overall message that I took from the movie. But we've still got a few more plot points to hit, so we'll talk about that in a minute later.
Yeah, honestly, kind of piggyback off of what you said. He does, and the thing that makes it even more tragic, the way it ends, is he had opportunities to leave, because I think this is the point in let's see, the part that you missed because you had to go to the bathroom was his first kill, his first sowing of paranoia is he cuts up two of the uncle's friends or sons. One, I can't remember. He kills them, dismembers them, and nails their body parts up on the wall in the shape of a horse.
Oh, I came back just as that was happening. Okay, so now I have context for that. Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing he's kind of doing. On the one hand, he's kind of trying to gain Fulnir's trust a little bit because they have that game of I forget what it's called. That kind of like medieval lacrosse game.
Oh my god, I forgot about that scene. Jesus Christ.
So the younger son almost gets killed because, again, this like grown ass man sees like so they're playing this game that's kind of like a cross between lacrosse and cricket
and rugby.
And rugby, yeah. And so the youngest son, who's about Almeth's age when we first see him. Yeah, he's very young. He's even younger than Almeth was. He gets excited and wants to go play in the game. And this huge grown adult, sees this child kind of just playing along, and his first instinct is to just murk him. He's just incredibly ready to TPK this guy in front of his dad, who is also the king. So Almeth, you can say a lot of negative things about him, but if there's one thing he's an opportunist. He busts this guy in the kneecaps, just absolutely paralyzes him, and saves the kid, and kind of earns Fulnir's trust a little bit. So Fulnir, he's starting to get paranoid, but he also Almeth, he's playing the long game, so he also earns his trust a little bit. He grants him he gets to choose a woman, so to speak, and all that, and of course he chooses Olga, and and then we get one of the best scenes in the movie where
yes, Almeth, the one that we call just like a regular Tuesday night for us.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We just, a couple people die, and then, she actually, Olga just puts in the guards' food, a bunch of, a bunch of,
hallucinogenic mushrooms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they pack their bags and they go on. I haven't seen a trip that bad since I went to Bonnaroo a couple years ago. But they have a bad time where one guy's just literally just stabbing himself in the neck, while they're supposed to be on guard duty. Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely great. It's just it becomes a Rob Zombie music video for a few minutes there.
It does.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's plague number 2 that he's so excited at. But I was referring more to the scene where they're out wearing flower crowns, dancing naked in the woods.
Oh no, that scene is great for different reasons. That's again an interesting, and that's an interesting parallel because it's one of the few times we see any kind of like levity and any kind of joy. Not only just joy from and that's another thing too. I think that the movies, anytime, one of the few times Almeth is happy is when he's making a connection with another person. Be it his with his father in the cave in the beginning. As ridiculous as that scene was, he was happy because he was bonding with his father. When he's with Olga, even though they're both enslaved at the moment, they're able to find these moments of happiness with one another. And you see the other enslaved people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were doing some sort of ritual or just some sort of festival, but
They were just
they're
straight up partying. They were partying.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're laughing, they're dancing, they're enjoying themselves. And I mean, again, this is another a big thing I think is important worth having out. The few minutes of happiness and joy we see in this movie is when we see people bonding with one another and forming a sense of togetherness and community. That
Mm-hmm.
all of these
Mm-hmm.
slaves and people are united by that, and all the horror and monstrousness we see is when people are destroying that community or destroying any kind of sense of togetherness, or like I'll look out for me, and to hell with everybody else. And it's brutal and it's savage, and I think that's
Which
I don't think that was unintentional. It's just like the few minutes of happiness is when people are actually building
actually together. Yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
with one
which
another. So
incidentally, this is just basically the backbone of Omelet's plan here. He's destroying the community a little by little, and okay, so does he kill? Okay, refresh my mind. That's just sequence of events. Does the twist come before or after? I think that comes after he finally kills the favorite son, right?
so he kills the fail son. He kills the shit older son. If
Yeah.
if Fulnir is supposed to be this wise, well respected, at least respected amongst his community. This older son is just fucking Donald Trump Jr. He's just a complete loser and fail. Not by the way, not giving praise to Donald Trump. He is also a fail son and a pathetic loser, but and a horrible person. But yeah, at least like if this community at least respects Fulnir as the leader and stuff like that. This son is just completely riding on his coattails. We see him. He's kind of sniveling. He's cowardly. He insults Almeth to his face.
Everybody.
He abuses his position. At least with Fulnir. He's trying to impart a lesson to his younger son that you need to be strong soon, which is a shitty lesson because there's always going to be somebody stronger than you eventually. And I mean, history is
He should know that better than anyone. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, history is full of strong rulers who were killed by somebody else, or uprolts, but uprisings by oppressed groups and stuff like that. So it's not a good lesson, but it's at least taking some sort of measures. But this kid is like I said, he's just completely just he's the snotty little prince. He's intentionally again great performance, but you love to hate him. So and
Exactly,
of course
which is why we love it when he gets ventilated. But what
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
asking
no.
is did he get killed before or after that? I think he got killed.
I believe
Yes,
he
because
gets killed.
I think the twist happens first, and it pisses off Albert so much that he just goes into a blind fury and kills the son.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
the young
No.
son. The yeah.
Yeah, no. I
But-
believe.
Yeah. That's what happens. That's what happens. So
And yeah. So should we
yeah,
talk about the big twist now then?
oh, for sure, because my God, just in case you still don't get it, this twist just brings it all home. Go.
All right,
Yeah,
so-
you want to start
Yeah,
because
so I believe with the chaos, he's Almeth is killing the guards. Olga has spiked the prom punch, and all the guards are they're having a bad time.
killing themselves.
So he takes a moment. He sneaks into Fulnir's house, and he meets with his mother, and he reveals who he is. And his expecting, he's like, hey, mom, I'm finally back. I saw what happened. I'm here to rescue you. I'm here to make things right. And then Nicole Kidman, she lets him know. Actually, you know what? So it turns out your father was a piece of shit. I was a slave. He made me a slave. And then he took me, and then he took me against my will, and when he did that, he made you. So I went to your uncle, begging him to kill my rapist and set me free, which he does. So the big twist, his entire quest for revenge, the wrong that he needed to right, the good king that was cut down by the sniveling, conniving uncle. No, it turns out he found out his brother was a rapist, and in an act of compassion, and also probably a power grab too. This. I mean, I don't want to completely make this guy into a hero, but like,
for sure,
murders his rapist brother, and this woman is so grateful for that. For this, she considers it an act of love and willingly goes with him. So your quest, your entire quest was to avenge a murderous psychopathic rapist.
And you are Boo Boo the Fool.
Yeah, exactly. And this short circuits this guy's brain. This is worse than when Brock Sampson found out that the Pyramid Wars were all a lie. He just can't accept that he's
that's a Venture Brothers reference for my younger audience.
Yeah, kids, ask your parents.
But yeah, it breaks his brain. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he can't handle it. And again, that's so true to, like you said. If you don't get it at this point, no, your quest for revenge. Your father was a monster. Your father, he's the worst person we've seen in this story, because at least you became this savage, cold-hearted, bloodthirsty killer, and it was all based on a lie for a monster. How's that for a twist?
It's about as good of a twist as you could get, because one, this isn't the kind of movie where you would even expect it to have a twist in the first place, which is the best kind of twist. Iron Man 3. Hey, Iron Man 3 is good, don't at me.
No, I agree with you on that one.
Okay.
That's we'll we can hash that out with Black Belt in another episode.
Yeah, sure we can. But yeah, so that happens, and the only way he knows how to deal with it is to kill something. So he claims his other victim.
That's all he knows. Yeah, and not only kills him, but takes his heart.
Oh yeah, literally cuts his heart out. Yeah, and but yeah, honestly, another one of my favorite parts though is that one thing about this movie is that it's clear that it's not endorsing the lifestyle that it's depicting here, but it still acknowledges like the surface level cool shit that they do. And what I'm referring to here is we get to see a full Viking funeral,
which is pretty rad.
Pretty well. Cool.
Okay, so yeah. Like, and I guess that's the violence in this movie is savage, and it is not it, but it's incredibly well choreographed, and it doesn't feel like a video game. It feels very real. So I mean, I wouldn't say that it looks cool, but it certainly holds your attention and keeps you engaged. So but yeah, that's another once Folnir, he obviously his wife lets him know who Almir is, and he threatened, he takes Olga hostage, and Almeth,
little side though, so he lines up about all the slaves and demands that they give up Almeth, and he starts straight up slitting throats of those who don't cooperate. And when he pulls the knife up to Olga's throat, she just smiles at him and says, "Oh, so now you no longer fear a woman's blood."
Which yeah, dude, you know what? If she had died right there, perfect line to go out on. Like, talk about great last words. But Almeth shows up, and he's come to bargain. He's got the shit son's heart, and they agree. They let Olga go, and then they take him up, and they just tie him up and just beat the shit out of him.
Oh yeah.
And then in one of the again, one of the more direct, I guess, divine influences on here.
Yeah, for sure.
A flock of ravens show up, and as anybody I'm sure is aware, like ravens are how Odin keeps an eye on things. So the ravens take, again, probably the most direct divine action in here and start pecking at Almeth's restraints so that he's released. That's another thing I'd like to point out too. I like when it comes with I really prefer mythologies and faiths where their gods are just as depraved and bloodthirsty as the, because
their subjects. Yeah.
Well, gods are born from the environment that people live in, so it makes sense that if you lived in Viking times, you would think that the gods would also favor bloodthirsty, violent psychopaths, because those were the ones that tended to be at the top. So the fact that Odin again kind of took a direct act in setting this guy free, I don't think is the movie trying to say, well, no, it's a good guy, he's doing that. He's just saying the Vikings,
no, even the gods are fucked.
Yeah, the Vikings were violent and depraved, so it makes sense that their gods would be violent and depraved. So I just thought that was worth pointing out. But yeah, so fate
to drive that point home. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say another. I'd say probably the most direct example. We've seen visions and stuff like that, but this is probably the most overt example of just divine fate playing a hand. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and just to drive that point even further home, when I think that's the part where when they find him escaped, there's a disemboweled guy just hanging upside down.
Yeah.
That's not. That's that's earlier. That's
earlier. They see all the ravens. I think Well,
right. They see the ravens. Yeah.
On his way out, Almeth, he gets in one more kill for good measure. He wants to make sure he stays at the top of the leaderboard. That's right. Yeah.
2.
So then we get again what's kind of the last peaceful scene in the movie, and I think what really just culminates everything about this guy's character. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hang on. Yeah, before that, who are the 2 people that he kills before he runs off?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, that's right. I forgot the most important thing. Yeah. So he goes back one more time, looking for his mother. She's hiding in a closet waiting to get him, at the end of the first Halloween. And, she does this weird thing where she tries to seduce him, which, you talked about weirdly horny, and the weird thing is
weird.
It feels like for a second it almost works. It looks like
it almost did.
I'm I don't know if that was a thing in Viking culture.
Probably.
But yeah, and I get that it's Nicole Kidman, but that's your mom, dude. But yeah, he eventually, once again, rage trumps boners, so he kills his mother, and then the younger son, he also pops out of the closet, and just like one of the imps in Elden Ring, just gets on your back, and he just starts going to town, just stabbing the shit out of him, and then.
And speaking of Berserk,
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, and yeah, exactly, and probably the lowest moment for this guy, fully culminating. This is not a good person. Murders a child who was defending his mother. Who, again, paralleling basically what Almeth couldn't do at the beginning. He was unable to protect his father from death. This kid comes out, tries to protect his parent from dying, and ends up getting killed for it. So, I mean, this is where his quest for revenge has taken him. He has now he's got
one more thing we forgot to mention is earlier Nicole Kidman, Queen Gudrun, she met. Remember how early we mentioned how she was on the uncle's shoulder, kicking and screaming. The way she describes it was that she was laughing.
Yeah, and I think, I think that was okay. So I think that was supposed to be an unreliable narrator type thing, because
that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, from Almeth's perspective at that point, he saw his mother being carried away by the guy who had just killed his father. And as far as
Yeah,
he
which
knew,
as far as we know, what actually happened was that the uncle was carrying her through the threshold.
But I mean, you could go back and rewatch that thing, and I think you could see it in the entirely different context. It has a
That's
completely
exactly
different
what I
meaning,
mean, yeah.
which is really good, really good storytelling in that regard. Yeah, because from Alma's perspective, she thought she's screaming and begging to be let free, but no, she was enjoying herself because her rapist was dead.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, now she's dead, and the son's dead. The 5-year-old that we mentioned earlier is dead.
Yeah.
So he runs off with Olga.
He runs off with Olga, and again they have this in one what's the most beautifully shot scenes in the movie. They're by this lake and they're together, and it's wonderfully shot, and it looks, unlike the rest of the movie, clean and happy and clean and happy and peaceful. And Olga reveals she's pregnant. Not only is she pregnant, she has twins. And then Almeth, decides, well, I have not only I have kids, and I had these prophecies before that these kids are gonna are gonna become rulers. So they decide to get a boat and get out of Dodge. And then as they're getting on the boat, Almeth, at the last moment, they're on the boat, they're gone, they're away. There's virtually social media doesn't exist in this time. They're virtually, once they get to where they're going, there's virtually no way they'll ever be found. They can go on to live a long and peaceful life, but at the last second, using the excuse that which to me it was an excuse, that his kids will never be safe. He dips out on his pregnant wife, swims back to shore to get to finish the bloodline once and for all. And to me, that is the culminating thing. Again, he could have probably been a much better protector for his children by staying alive.
Yeah,
we've seen. This guy is not a lot of things, but one thing he is a accomplished warrior and killer. If anybody could protect his children, it would probably be him. And any sort of if he absolutely needed to, if he was found out, he could probably easily raise a group of warriors to meet them. But no, he decides, no, I'm going to abandon my new family that I just found out I had, because my bloodlust and my desire for revenge is still there. It is just too strong. So he goes, and I apologize, Paresh, I will let you talk in a minute, but
no, you're this is good.
Yeah. So he goes back one last time to the farm area. He frees all the slaves. One of the few good things he does in this movie. Objectively good things. And then most of Fulnir's men he just absolutely murks. And then Fulnir, he meets them and he says, all right, let's finish this. Let's go to the gates of hell.
The gates of hell.
Which is the final, and what an ending. I take back about how stupid it was that he went back to finish this, because otherwise we wouldn't have got this scene, and this scene fucking rules. So
exactly, it both on a surface and thematic level, it is even from a shallow interpretation, it is badass. But thematically, of course, it's woe unto these men.
Yeah. So
it begins from the build up.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Just in case you still don't get it, before he even meets Fjolnir, he sees the corpse of his mother and the boy that he killed outside the volcano. Yep,
and Fulnir, he meets him, and he's just let's I guess settle this like Vikings. Which the gates of hell is a volcano.
Yeah. It's a volcano,
and I believe that they were doing it's what's called, I forget how it's pronounced. I think it's like Holmgang or something along that, and it's
what?
It's like it's like a formal duel. Like, you know how like people used to do like pistols at dawn or something like that to settle disputes. It's the same kind of idea. Like you engage in like prepared combat with somebody else.
Prepared combat. Oh yeah,
exactly. And it was like in Scandinavian law, it was like legally recognized. Like if you challenge somebody to it, you know, the winner of the duel, you know, by rights, you know, would get whatever he had. Anyway,
and yeah, the way that this fight, yeah, oh yeah, no, that was really interesting. Because yeah, go building off of what you said about this being prepared combat is like they do. In fact, I mean, I still giggle at this because I've got the mind of a 12-year-old, but they do fight each other naked without armor.
Yeah, no,
Nothing.
It was. No, I believe that's at least. I want to say partially historically accurate. Again, I know I only know bits and pieces about Scandinavian
bits.
Yeah, no, but it is a big naked sword fight, and the cinematography on this fight is just absolutely just incredible.
It's another unbroken oneer, and these guys are just beating the shit out of each other with their shields and their swords.
And again, there is a measure of skill and finesse to their sword play, but again, it doesn't feel like a cartoon. It doesn't feel, you know, like a video game, like an action movie. You know, it feels like you're watching a real brutal to the death sword fight. You know, this is not this is not Anakin versus Obi-Wan at the end of Episode 3, which that fight does rule, but that was a different fight.
Right? Yeah. It's not. This is a different. You're saying it's a different kind of fight, not that it's a superior fight because of.
Well, or that
the Duel of the Fates is inherently inferior because of this.
Yeah, exactly.
I get what you mean.
Well, it's everything this movie has been building towards, honestly. You know, again, you know, and I say that in a literal sense. You know, all the brutality, all the violence, you know, all the pointless revenge. You know, both of these men have, you know, in different ways through their own actions. Yeah, they have nothing left to live for. You know, Almeth has abandoned his family, and he apparently doesn't have any intent of coming back. Volnir, who is the, you know, again, like I said, it was probably in part a grab for power, but I mean, the guy who was closest to doing the right thing in this movie, he, you know, his wife and all his children are dead, and you know, and it was indirectly by way of his actions, you know, so violence and brutality have led these two to have this Metal Gear Rising ass final duel. And the way it ends is absolutely perfect, because the way it ends,
they kill each other.
Yep. Volnir gets decapitated, but as Almeth is swinging and knocking him off, knocking his head off, Volnir is stabbing him right in the gut. And the movie ends with Almeth dying, but he has his last vision as he lays dying, and he does see, you know, he sees a vision, you know, Olga has their children, and following, you know, Scandinavian and Viking tradition, you know, he's carried off to Valhalla because he was a crazy ass fucking warrior. But again, I don't read that as like, you know, Almeth is just this like heroic figure, you know, who spent his life righting wrong and fighting the good fight, and he gets to go in Valhalla. No, it's just like he died alone, unloved, surrounded by no one in a fucking volcano.
Yep. So yeah, Valhalla.
I mean, you know, that there's your Valhalla. There is your Valhalla. You know, he was not fighting to better the world, to, you know, he at least at some point thought he was, you know, at least trying to right some sort of wrong. But then, you know, he finds out that, you know, he wasn't even doing that. But he continues. He doesn't change. His plan of his course of action doesn't change. He causes more pain. He causes more suffering. because again, he's been transformed into a beast, and this is all he knows how to do. So
that actually reminds me of one more thing. Think back to the very beginning where he shed a tear, and his father told him, "Let that be the last tear you shed in sadness."
And there it is.
The closing shot, he sheds another tear. So, so did he break his? Was that a tear? Was that even a tear of sadness, honestly, or was it a tear of triumph?
I think there's multiple ways to read that. You could read that
for
as,
sure.
I'm sure there's one way to read it as, like he's happy that, in his mind, he did what he needed to do and his family is safe, but to me, it's just like, oh, well, I'm dying. Maybe I can finally show an emotion other than rage.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And that to me, again, I don't know, how much you want to read into this movie as a condemnation of toxic masculinity or themes of that nature.
It took us an hour and 18 minutes, and we finally just said it.
There it is. All right, I got the buzzword. I can't wait for DMs calling me an SJW. But yeah, no, I mean, if you want to talk, like all of this is caused by toxic traits like that. Like revenge, violence, hatred, slaughter. Rape, murder. All of these horrible things.
Being a deadbeat dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, being an absentee father. All of the, Almeth, again, he's an interesting and fascinating character to watch, and Skarsgård does an amazing job with him. But I do not think he is someone to be idolized. I don't think the movie is trying to tell you he's somebody to be idolized.
The movie constantly reminds you that he is not to be idolized, that everything he's doing is bad.
And again, like after the movie has the big reveal that his entire, all of this horrible things he had caught, he's like, I'm doing all of this, and yes, it's horrible, but I'm doing it to right this terrible wrong. We find out that that's not even the case, and his plans do not change at all. He murders a child and abandons his family after learning this. He's not a hero, and again, nope. I don't think the movie, it tries to portray him as that way.
Remember, kids, just because he's the protagonist does not mean he's a hero.
Absolutely. He's our protagonist and our point of view character. But, the only reason the gods favor him and he gets to go to Valhalla at the end is because, again, as I pointed out, the gods are just as violent and psychopathic as they are. If you grew up in a society where plunder, murder, and pillage was the law of the land, it makes sense that you would think that that's what your gods would want. If you are trying to create this is far from the only example. The Greek gods are not these perfect benign beings. You can look at, various different examples through history. The gods in various mythologies around sometimes they're mischievous, sometimes they're devious, sometimes they're, they don't give a shit about people. Sometimes they're antagonistic towards people. Sometimes they reward people who are bad because some of the gods are bad. So I don't think, I think, some of the defenses on that he is a good guy is that he's favored by the gods. Well, you know what? The gods are pieces of shit too. So, I don't think that's a good enough excuse, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's why, again, I really enjoyed the themes of this movie, because it really was just gritty and dirty and just violence begets violence, and all this suffering. If there was just a way for like us to, because you see the few moments of happiness are the moments where people are working together, building some sort of community with one another and finding an understanding with one another, and those are so few and far between, and they stand out so much because every other scene is just everyone just trying their own motivations and just trying to take them for themselves, and they have very little to show for it at the very end. And I think that is in my mind, that's the overall point of the movie, is that like
Oh, absolutely.
if this is the world you're trying to build, where it's the individual and just your needs and nobody else, this is what you get. This is what you get at the end of the day. You end up dead and alone, and you know what? And your kids will grow up without a dad, and
exactly.
You don't get to hang out. You don't get to hang out in the fart cave with Willem Dafoe anymore. So that's the lesson, kids.
Yep. And if I had to sum it up, I would just say, yeah, revenge is bad, but it can also look badass. Revenge is badass.
Revenge like suicide.
Let's but let's not throw that baby out with the bathwater, because this movie does strike the perfect balance between being surface level awesome but also thematically sound. You could say it has a lot of meat for you to sink your teeth into.
I mean, it does have a lot of, again, very well choreographed action scenes. They're brutal, and you'd be. I think anybody would be lying if there wasn't at least a part, the 12-year-old part of you that's just like, man, I want to get out a sword and be, a badass. But again,
we haven't even gotten to the soundtrack yet. Like, my God, the soundtrack.
The orchestral score is just absolutely incredible. Yeah,
especially the drums of the chorus. Shout out to whoever did that. My God.
Yeah, no, I'll have to look up whoever did the score, because they did an amazing job. And one of the things I always appreciate is I like when movies will sometimes take their time, because not having a lot of sound or any sound is just as much a conscious choice as having a big orchestral score. And this movie is very good. It's one of its strengths. It's very good at knowing when it needs to be quiet.
Yes, for sure.
A lot of, again, I feel like that's a thing that's kind of been lost recently, is that I feel like the
power of silence. Yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of studios, are so worried that audiences are going to get bored or going to have such a short attention span, that they're just there's just a constant bombardment of stimulus in a lot of movies, to try and keep you engaged. And I really appreciate that there is a film that, like, again, takes, this movie does take its time in a lot of instances, and that's really something I've kind of been missing from a cinematic experience. So to see that, this movie is, obviously by no means perfect. If you were, if I were to give it an overall number grade, I would probably give it 8.5 out of 10. Would be my...
for sure. Same here, but I honestly, I don't like putting I've stopped putting numerical values on my. I understand the appeal behind it. I just don't personally do it. But yeah, honestly, I would 8.5 definitely for sure.
But yeah, you're right. Numbers are kind of like arbitrary, but just to give an idea, and it's a strong 8.5 out of 10 is where I
for sure.
It's enough that where I would recommend other people seeing it. Again, we've kind of alluded it to, because this is a movie that delves deep with Viking and Scandinavian lore. I think there were concerns, or at least fears that certain
there was definitely QAnon and shaman discourse. So when this movie came out, don't get me wrong, there was still that level of discourse. But yeah, of course, the rebuttal to it was you can't let the worst actors just dictate how you see every movie.
Exactly. I mean,
especially a movie like this that is actively condemning them.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely,
yeah.
And I think. And those guys, they don't really have any respect for any kind of culture anyway, because I've noticed they tend to often mix Scandinavian, Celtic, Eastern European, and all they kind of blend all these very distinct and very different cultures together. So they don't even really have any kind of real actual respect for for example, this is obviously a Scandinavian movie. There's very little actual respect for that. They just, again, a lot of it is just projection. They it's a very incredibly surface level reading where just deep down they want to be they're upset that they're not the badass conqueror, so they just want to see themselves as as the protagonist as Almeth without any of the baggage the movie just throws in your face for an hour and a half. So
2 hours 17 minutes.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, and that's another thing too. It didn't feel. I know a lot of people say it's clean, but it really didn't. It didn't, for a movie as long as it was. It didn't drag at any point. Again, and especially for a movie that is willing to take its time. It's never boring. I'm never waiting for something interesting to happen. It's a movie that definitely holds your interest. So. It was, and again, I had no expectations going into this. This was, I forget which of our group recommended it, but I was very pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah, for sure. I'd kind of heard good things about it because it was getting mentioned in the same breath as Everything Everywhere All at Once, as far as like good non-superhero. It's like, oh god, some good non-superhero movies, thank the Lord. That kind of conversation. So yeah, I kind of had a little bit, but still, even with that, I just had, it's good. That's all the expectations that I had going into it, and it's I said, it gave me Green Knight vibes, and yeah, I honestly, whenever this comes out on Blu-ray, I'll try and see if I could get it and the Green Knight. We could set up like a movie night or something for
another
a double feature.
One of those like we did with Godzilla and Kong a while back. That was a lot of fun. I would love to do something like that again. Well,
have you seen the Green Knight?
I have, yes. I didn't see it when it came out in theaters. I was still kind of gun shy about going out, but I did eventually stream it. You're exactly right. It's a very similar kind of movie. I would also I don't want to turn this into a Green Knight episode, but I would also give it,
especially since I already made one.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to steal your thunder. Look, I know I know the people. The people are desperate for more rivers. I know it has been a very hot, dry summer, and the people need moisture, and I'm here to provide that. I get that, but
all of that is getting edited. I'm editing out the word moisture, just so you know.
Folks, demand the uncensored cut of Busted Limes. Ask for the rivers cut. It's an entirely different experience. Get on Twitter, hashtag Rivers Cut. Let's make it a thing.
Yeah.
Paresh, I think we've gone through. We've discussed anything. Any kind of closing thoughts or anything like that you really want to hammer home about this one?
Honestly, not really. Like I said, we kind of. But yeah, just to sum up. Yeah. Well, when you go seek revenge, dig 2 graves. Yeah.
Oh, that's so stupid. I'm digging way more than 2 graves, you idiot.
All right. Well,
Paresh, if you ever want to come over to my house, do some peyote and hot box in the bedroom, I'm just let me put the cats in the other room, and we'll make sure that Odin shows us our future.
Oh yeah, for sure. So anything you want to plug at all? No? Yes? I've
got some other small projects I'm working on, but they're so in the early stages, it's not worth plugging them. If you have me on for another episode, and those are a little more in development, maybe I'll have. But I'll just say, it was really great to be back on the show. I've been I'm a few episodes behind, but I am doing my best to catch up. I'll probably be listening to your latest book club episode once I get a free moment here, and. I want to thank all the lovelies out there who took the time to listen to us, talk about this revenge porn movie for about an hour and a half, and it was really great to be back. And I would just like to point out that out of everyone you invited, I was the only one who didn't cancel. So that
is true. That is actually
I'd like
true.
To say. When the royalties start coming in for these things, just remember who was good to you. Remember who put a little sugar in those busted limes when you were making some juice there.
I'm pretty sure you put salt in limes, but regardless, yes, as you
No,
just
but
heard, the name of the show...
I am joking, of course. The other
I know.
the other two people, well, in case they're listening, I just want them to know the other two people that were invited to be on this episode, they're absolutely wonderful and lovely people. But sometimes, unfortunately, real life gets in the way, and they're not able to make it. But we saw that with one of them, and I love both of them absolutely. And it's a shame they couldn't be here, but this was one of these more intimate Busted Limes episodes because it's just you and me.
Sure. And plus, I still have an Elden Ring episode in me, so that we could put a pin in that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I got plenty more topics I'm knowledgeable on. And by the way, we talked about this before the show, but you and Black Belt have broken and exceeded the 20 episode podcast curse. So that means good things are in your future. So I am legit honored and happy that I have been able to be a part of this. And I want to thank you. I know this is your show, so the fact that you were willing to let me come on and be a part of it, that really does mean a lot to me. And yeah, I was happy to do this. I always have a good time when I come on and get to pal around with you guys. So hopefully we'll get to do it again soon.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yep, as you've just heard, the name of the show is Busted Limes. We are available on every podcast platform you could think of, even Spotify, despite my souring relationship with them. But if you want to follow me personally and all my shit posts and live tweets of Toonami and, well, AEW is going on right now as we're recording this, so unfortunately I had to skip out on that, which apparently Okada made an appearance, so cool. Cool that I missed that. But nah, honestly, seriously, I'd do it again. I'd record this episode all over.
Well, I'm sure you'll have some way to stream it or watch it later on.
I mean, Forbidden Doors this Sunday, so it's like, yeah.
There you go. Well,
But yeah. So we are available on all major podcasting platforms. If you want to follow me personally, my Twitter is noblekind92. If you want to follow my co-host Black Belt, I swear he's still my co-host. I know he's been taking a long break, but I'm telling you, we are working on some cool shit. I can't tell you what that cool shit is right now, but I can tell you it's cool shit. I know because I'm in it. But yeah, if you want to follow him on Twitter, his Twitter username is @blackbelt1998. So
and if you want to follow me, don't, because social media is for chumps, and I don't bother with it. But
I am right here.
I don't personally engage on that. If some of the other projects I ever am involved with become bigger, that may change for a while now, but I currently do not have any social media following. So if you're listening to this and I end up blowing up in a few years, you can say you knew me before. So if you want to get those hipster credits, let's get those Busted Lime numbers up. And that's all I got.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rivers. Thank you all for listening. And thank you, most of all, for busting a line with us.